Hello and welcome to the 86th video by Pale Blue Thoughts. Today we're going to discuss something that is not very common knowledge: biomimicry. Have you heard this word before? Biomimicry is a practice that learns from and mimics the strategies found in nature to solve human design challenges. Nature has a lot of designs inbuilt into it. The intricate designs of a spider web, the model of a beehive, the wings of a butterfly all continue to amaze us. Biomimicry is a science that looks at these designs and mimics the same to suit us, humans. We have designed a lot of stuff that we use from designs found in nature without paying any copyright fees. But this video is not just about learning how we mimic. We will also learn how nature does this in the first place. Why do we often feel nature has been designed when it is not? How does such intricate patterns evolve on Earth without any intelligent designer drafting the blueprints? Pale Blue Thoughts looks at biomimicry and self-organization in this video. Living organisms have evolved well-adapted structures and materials over time through natural selection. Biomimicry has given rise to new technologies inspired by these structures at macro and nanoscales. Humans have looked at nature for answers to problems throughout our existence. Nature has solved engineering problems such as self-healing abilities, self-assembly, networking, and even flying. One of the early examples of biomimicry was a study of birds to enable human flight. Although never successful in creating a flying machine, Leonardo da Vinci was a keen observer of the anatomy and flight of birds and made numerous notes and sketches of flying machines. The Wright brothers, who succeeded in flying the first heavier-than-air aircraft in 1903, derived inspiration from observations of pigeons in flight. During the 1950s, the American biophysicist Otto Schmidt developed the concept of biomimetics. He studied the nerves of squid and mimicked it to develop a Schmidt trigger, a device used to convert analog input signals to digital output signal. He continued to focus on devices that mimic natural systems, and by 1957 he had perceived a different view of how physics was used to study the biological world, which was called biophysics at that time, and came up with a view he would come to call biomimetics. In 1960, another American named Jack E. Steele coined another word, bionics, which he defined as the science of systems which have some function copied from nature or which represent characteristics of natural systems or their analogues. Bionics, however, got a different definition after the release of a novel named Cyborg by Martin Caidin. Cyborgs are, on a loose definition, part man, part machine creatures. The term bionic then became associated with the use of electronically operated artificial body parts and having extraordinary human powers with the aid of such devices. The term biomimicry was popularized by scientist and author Janine Benyus in her 1997 book Biomimicry: Innovation Inspired by Nature. Biomimicry is defined in the book as a new science that studies nature's models and then imitates or takes inspiration from these designs and processes to solve human problems. Now let us see a few examples to understand this concept better. Biomimicry could in principle be applied in many fields. Aircraft wing design and flight techniques are inspired by birds and bats. The fluttering of the common dragonfly and its aerodynamic design helped us design helicopters. In an effort to reduce aircraft noise, researchers have looked to the leading edge of owl feathers, which are adapted to disperse aerodynamic pressure and provide nearly silent flight to the bird. The aerodynamics of the Japanese high-speed train Shinkansen 500 series were modeled after the beak of kingfisher bird. Velcro, which is used to fasten things such as clothes, is actually copied from nature. Swiss electrical engineer George de Mestral invented Velcro when he went for a walk in the Alps and wondered why burdock seeds sung to his woolen socks and coat, and also his dog. The fastener consisted of two components, a lineal fabric strip with tiny hooks that could mate with another fabric strip with smaller loops attaching temporarily until pulled apart. The same design that was used by the burr plant to ward off plant eaters using its hooks, but mainly as a method of dispersing its seeds by sticking to the outer coat of animals. Researchers have studied the termites' ability to maintain virtually constant temperature and humidity in their termite mounds in Africa despite outside temperatures that vary from 1.5 degrees centigrade to 40 degrees centigrade. Researchers scanned a termite mound and created 3D images of the mound structure, which revealed construction that could influence human building design. The Eastgate Center, a mid-rise office complex in Harare, Zimbabwe, stays cool without air conditioning and uses only 10% of the energy of a conventional building of the same size. Surfaces that recreate properties of shark skin are intended to enable more efficient movement through water, so efforts have been made to produce fabric to create swimwear that emulates shark skin. Surface tension biometrics are being researched for technologies such as hydrophobic coatings. Hydrophobicity is a physical property of a molecule that repels water. You may have seen many plants have these kind of coating that repels water when water falls on it. Some amphibians, such as some frogs and salamanders, are able to attach to and move over wet or even flooded environments without falling. These kind of organisms have toe pads which are permanently wetted by mucus secreted from glands, and they are capable of climbing on wet rocks even when water is flowing over the surface. We have designed tire treads inspired from such animals. We have developed adhesives based on mussels. They stick easily and efficiently to underwater surfaces, boards and rocks, and are not even swept away by strong sea currents. This is achieved by the presence of some proteins which attaches itself to any surface. We have used these proteins to manufacture a glue used for industrial purposes. Leg attachment pads of several animals, including many insects, beetles, flies, spiders and lizards, also called as gecko, are capable of attaching to a variety of surfaces, even on vertical walls. Attachment systems in these organisms are similar and are called as setae. Such biological examples have offered inspiration to produce climbing robots, boots and adhesive tapes. And of course, who can forget our friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? One of the latest examples of biomimicry goes by the description of management. This term, a combination of the words management and ant, describes the usage of the behavioral strategies of ants in economic and management strategies. Ants have also helped us solve problems in computing, managing traffic systems, and even in air traffic controlling. This is called as ant colony optimization, which we will come to later. So, the list of things that we have learned from nature can go on and on. But for the sake of time, I will stop about biomimicry here, and we will go to discuss about how these often come about naturally in nature. Many people wrongly believe that these apparent designs require a designer, most often an intelligent designer. What I am going to tell you is how these designs can occur naturally without the need for a designer, intelligent or otherwise. We are so amazed at the structural designs that we see in nature that we, as a pattern-seeking animal, tend to equate a supernatural force behind it. Just look at the shape of a beehive, the lines on a leaf, the intricate weaving of a spider web, the design of a conch shell, the nest of a weaver bird, the orderly flying formation of birds. Aren't they awe-inspiring? All have a regular shape, all have a similar structure and a very intricate and seemingly difficult design that we think is not capable of achieving without engineering tools that humans use. So it is natural to ask who has given a ruler to them, who has given a protractor to them to calculate the angles with such precision. You say they are not intelligent, but how can you explain these designs if they have not been programmed like this by someone intelligent, right? Wrong. The reason why these patterns are seen in the universe is because they keep repeating some simple rules over and over again. Let me give you an example. Suppose you dip your hand in some paint and place the tip of your finger on a canvas. Then you place your next finger, let's say 2 inches away from it, to the left, right, or top or bottom. Then the same rule is applied again to the next placement, and it continues. Now after a few such dots, do you expect to see an orderly pattern or a random pattern? You would see an orderly pattern. Why? Because you are following a simple rule over and over again. Randomness comes only when the rules get complex. If you have studied computer science, you will know that one of the most complicated things to program on a computer is to generate random numbers. This is called as random number generation in programming. If you ask a teacher to select 5 random students from their class of 30, it is very easy for the teacher to do so. But ask the same to a computer and it becomes a difficult task for the computer. That is because for a computer, you have to specify a rule. You can specify to choose 5 students whose roll numbers are odd, or all students beginning with a specific letter, say A. Then it will choose it. But to choose 5 at random is difficult. A lot of common applications that we use today, like the OTP that you receive as SMS, uses these random numbers. If you are generating it using a specific pattern, then you are exposing the system to hackers who can decipher it. So the numbers have to be generated randomly without a specific pattern, and people who have programmed in such systems know how difficult it is. So the point is, what requires an external intervention to be created? An orderly pattern or a random pattern? If you have designed a geometrical pattern when making a rangoli or a pookalam, you would know that you are basically following a simple rule multiple times, and the result is an orderly pattern. This is the same thing which happens in these patterns that you see in nature. Now let us come to ant colony optimization. Have you looked at an ant hill or a beehive? If you look at it closely, you can see that they have a clear, organized way of going about it. There is division of labor, that is, specific ants or bees have a specific task given to them. What does what, who brings what, and they contribute to the whole structure in a beautiful way that even humans find it difficult to do at times. We most often do with a hierarchical control, with a chief architect or project manager designing the plan and the humans in the lower level executing the plan given to them. But how do the ants and bees achieve this without any apparent hierarchical control? The way it happens is that if you take one ant amongst the colony, it does not know the entire structure of the anthill. It does not know any operational knowledge of the entire ant colony. It knows only about the parts that it is supposed to do. The ant follows some simple set of rules in the ant colony. Suppose an ant goes out in search of food. It goes out randomly in some direction. As it goes, it sprays a chemical called as pheromones as it goes about finding food. This is done so that it can find its way back to the colony. Suppose en route it finds a sugar cube. It carries a small portion of the cube back to the anthill while depositing an extra dose or an intense pheromone channel on return. This is to enable it or other ants to locate the sugar cube again. The other ants also know from the intensity of the pheromone trail that there is food available at the end of it. So let us assume that many ants went looking for food. Some ants were successful while others came back empty-handed. But if you look at the pheromone trails, you can easily make out which ants were successful, and other ants follow these trails to the sugar cube, leaving pheromone trails which makes the trail even stronger. So after a while, the rest of the less intense pheromone trails evaporate into the air while the stronger trails remain. So after a while, ants only follow the stronger pheromone trails. The rule is simple. Go dropping pheromones until you find food and come back dropping more. The rest of the ants follow the simple rule over and over, and this is what gives us an impression that they have organized themselves like an orderly traffic system. Want to test this? Next time you see an orderly marching of ants, simply draw a line between two or more ants and you can see the pattern is disrupted. The ants no longer can follow the order as you have cleared the pheromone trail with your fingers. They are lost. They are lost until one ant crosses the line that you drew and picks up the scent again. Try it, but please don't kill any ants in the process. So ants are necessarily not intelligent but appear to be intelligent because they follow some simple rules provided to them by evolution. You also know that computers are not intelligent too. They also follow the rules that we set it. The only difference is that it can do things faster than we can do. So computing can learn from the ant colony optimization and adopt the same rules to design communication and networking systems. It tries to organize itself in a similar way that ants do by following simple rules. This finds application in many areas such as air traffic control. It is not the air traffic controllers who choose which aircraft should land and take off when, but it is the program that decides by analyzing and organizing these into patterns using some set of rules over and over again. So the crux of the matter is that patterns can emerge or come about without an intervention of any intelligent being, as we saw in these examples. And this is how all things that occur in nature appear to have been designed. They have not been designed, but they exist because they follow some simple rules over and over again. They are simple structures at a micro level, but for us viewing it at a macro level, it appears as a complex design. Again, a problem of a pattern-seeking brain which tries to seek patterns where there is none. So, there is no need for an intelligent creator in order to explain complexities in nature. Just look at nature through the eyes of science and the design becomes obvious. So to conclude, we can use biomimicry to not only learn from nature's wisdom, but also learn to protect ourselves and this planet in the process. Biomimicry gives us hope because we know the solutions for our greatest challenges are here, accessible and validated by many species still alive today. By using nature as our mentor, we can find solutions to solve many challenges together and to ultimately make our lives much better than what it is now. And for that, we have our own intelligence to design it. I hope you enjoyed this episode. Until next time, it's me Anand saying bye-bye from Pale Blue Thoughts.